VUT101 class. We start the session with minutes of Patanjali meditation. So let's start the inward journey with Patanjali meditation. We will follow the 3 simple steps prescribed by Patanjali. Start with step 1, which is body. Sit cross-legged, or you can sit on a chair. Make sure your feet are flat on the ground and your spine is straight. Feel comfortable. Scan your whole body from your toes, moving upwards. Watch your breathing motion. How your breaths are coming in and going out. Move on to step 2. To discipline our breathing. 3 cycles of breathing. Let's start with the first cycle. Breathe out. Hold your breath out. Breathe in. Hold it within. Breathe out. Hold it out. Breathe in. Hold it within. Last cycle. It out. Breathe in. Hold it within. Body take back its normal breathing rhythm. Now let's move on to step 3. Disciplining our. So we'll be using to do that. We'll recite the mantra first in the louder sound and then sound. After that, we will be in the state of meditation, which is mind is totally disconnected from your body, and that is when you will connect. You can connect to the infinite consciousness or the Ishwar. So during this time, if a thought wave hits you, write Om in your mind, away the thought wave. If it take a train which had entered your mind and recite Om in your mind. This position until now let's start with the Gayatri Mantra. Om Bhur Swah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Udayam. Rub both of your palms together and put them on your eyes. Slowly open your eyes. Thank you. Now have the rest of the session from Acharya ji.
Welcome to the session by 8 of our current course, Vedic Unified Theory. The title is Upasana, and the best English translation I can think is Divine Consciousness. It's called actually the word meaning of the term yoga is union, which fits very well with being united with the infinite consciousness. However, in modern times, people have debated about yoga, known as that is called actually Hut Yoga. Few remarks about that, but that's the topic today. In continuation of the trinity of Jnana and Upasana, knowledge, action, and Upasana, we have discussed at length concepts of knowledge and karma, particularly how it relates to physics. A quick review of the previous 7 and number 1, we looked at a simple scenario and noticed humanity is divided between science and religion. Science is accepted because it is rational, but it is silent or is not able to give us convincing answer about what is my consciousness as a human being, what ought to be the objective of my life. Religions try to say something, but they lack rigor and logical framework we are accustomed to in the evidence given by history, and that has declined. We also looked at what could be the desirable things in unified theory, which explains science does, which is unraveling all kinds of natural laws of physics. We could add consciousness, a non-physical consciousness, which we discussed at length in number 2. How this Vedic concept of matter and consciousness gained existence in classical times, how it declined in last 5,000 years or so. It is a good blueprint usable by us in modern times. Then let's look at its and we started with in session 3 what is my actual nature of consciousness, my instruments of body and mind, their function. Then we looked at it, the unique features of human life, that it cannot be that human beings have evolved like other species. We are a class apart from all other. That needs to be explained in a manner And that's what this unified theory does it. We also looked at it, the role of that infinite consciousness. There has to be a conscious prime mover everything that is moving. Level, everything is moving. That has to be explained, and that can be explained if there is a subtle consciousness which is all pervading, which gives the movement to all the subatomic particles, including the gigantic Earth and the Sun, etc. Then we started with of knowledge, action, and upasana. Next was devoted to that. On the last week was on action. Today we move on to into upasana. Common slide I have been showing at the start of sessions: knowledge, action, and upasana. Our threefold to say a common man is always engaged in action, for which we have two wonderful instruments, body and mind. Also seen that we are not just body, mind, and consciousness. There are certain forces working in the background, what we looked at as bionic domain. Sustains our life. So after several hours of sleep, when we wake up in the morning, we find that our are functional because those forces which are very vital, they were functioning. That's what we want to explore, who that agency is, who is so much alive. It gives me life, it sustains my life every moment. Common man is using for knowledge and action, but if we want to explore that force, movements of body and mind absolutely calm. That's what leads to upasana. Business we are interested in. That's what makes us unique. Though we have seen dimension of knowledge and action, have unique kind of activities, unique parameters knowledge, action. But Upasana is exclusive domain of human beings. So knowledge and action are common to all species. Even there we have some many fine parameters, but Upasana is unique to humans alone. It leads to two important function. That is what mentioned here. It leads to the climax associated with the happiness of life. So we had seen in earlier session that human life is unusual, never contented. I always want to upgrade my happiness. If it was really a then it turns a faulty design because we are supposed to come here many years, but never to feel really the finality of the human or humanness. That would be a very faulty design. No reason for such a faulty design to be there because in all other activities, in all other dimensions, for example, we all get hungry. There is a mechanism to obtain food, hunger. We all get thirsty to obtain water, drink it, and feel that thirst. If something is striking all of us, then there has to be a mechanism to solve that thing reality. Otherwise, the design is faulty, which it is not the case. So that's what we want to say. Human pursuit of happiness also has a finality is obtained in upasana. Another thing happening when I succeed in upasana, there is a conclusive experiential evidence of the infinite consciousness. Otherwise, we can argue that there must be such a thing. See this wooden desk. There must have been a carpenter who made it, or the carpenter. But if there is an evidence, I have a photo of that particular carpenter who was making this particular desk, then that is the evidence which is acceptable to all. So that is what we say, that yes, there must be an infinite consciousness, but there is a way also to know it in experiential sense, that is so-called pratyaksh. I have seen it, I'm living, so to say. And that's what is climax of Upasana. That is the evidence of infinite consciousness. Important chapter, let's look at it. Upasana is, though not said exactly like that, Ishwar Upasana. So in today's session, we will be borrowing certain ideas from Patanjali Yoga, the philosophy. There, the concept, otherwise we have been talking about infinite consciousness, described as defined as Ishwar, right? So some ideas from book written by Maharishi Dayanand, Rigvedadi Bhashya Bhumika. So this is his introduction before he wrote the commentaries on, and then he wrote the commentaries on the Vedas in a particular direction, Parmarthic, because his belief was Vedas are the body of all the true knowledge. So he was keen that all kinds of ideas are covered in the Vedas. That was his objective. So he had set aside a number of other concepts which are missing. So he writes towards the end of this particular book, he says that the worship, this is of course English translation of the book. In his book, he used the term Upasana. This particular translator has translated the term Upasana. I don't quite like it. I'm using the term as it is, but just to make sense out of this particular translation, the word worship here means Upasana. In the words of Dayanand, what he's saying is we shall refer to the worship Upasana part to the extent as would be correct for the context and the actual interpretation of the text. So this is his introduction to the Vedic commentaries, and he's saying that I will spread of Upasana only when it is very explicitly so. Otherwise, he did not want to why? Because the same has been described in detail by Patanjali in his Yoga Shastra. I may not go at length for Upasana. That has already been done by Patanjali in his book called Yoga Shastra, is Yoga Darshanam or Yoga Sutra. High treatment will be awarded to the spiritual knowledge, what we have 2 weeks ago, Upasana or Paravidya, that has been fully explained in the Sankhya, Vedanta, etc. Small few lines, not even the whole sentence I have borrowed, just to want to show you that Upasana is very well covered. So that is the right way to go about, and that was the opinion of Dayanand also, and so is true. So the question is asked now, and that is the beauty of the Sanskrit words. It is always embedded in the word itself. So if you look at the word carefully, corresponding root, etc., you can make quite a good meaning. It is called a up is a prefix called upsarg, which has a meaning nearby. this is a compound word. Then there is a word called asan, a seat or to sit, so to say. So upasana is to sit nearby. So in simple terms, upasana is to sit in a very intimate manner with somebody, exclusively with somebody, having after disconnected things. So you are exclusively, intimately with somebody. As I said, Upasana is always Ishwar Upasana, and Dayanand himself, in second principle of उसी की उपासना करनी योग्य है. He is mentioning about Ishwar. Towards the end, he mentions like that. So Upasana is, as far as a human being is concerned, exclusively Ishwar Upasana, being with Ishwar. Now we will be using the concepts from book, and Patanjali uses the term Ishwar for that consciousness. So we are quite reasonable in Upasana as Ishwar Upasana, that infinite consciousness. In our knowledge and action modes, we use the instruments of body and mind. Upasana, we wish to disconnect from them. We want to disconnect from the instruments of body and mind, keep them still inactive before we can disconnect. I like to always point out, if I am bringing a car to a destination and I want to meet somebody, I want that person to get out of the car. I cannot get out of the car unless it is in a stationary position. If car is running, I cannot get out of it. I can disengage from any instrument after it has been brought to an absolute inactive position. The same thing applies to our mind, and that's what is the challenge. Practicing meditation at the start of this session, learning to calm down our mind. Mind is void of any activity. I am likely to disconnect from it. If I disconnect from my mind, far away from that infinite consciousness, all pervading. So, who is there closest to me, to me, who is within me, more subtle than I am? So, these are the concepts that meditation only can lead to Ishwar Upasana. So, meditation is a state of mind when mind is inactive. Then I disengage from mind to infinite consciousness or Ishwar. So these are the steps involved in that. That's what brings us to Patanjali's Yoga. Right at the outset, what is Yoga? His statement is Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga Vritti Nirodha. Chitta is our mind. So through the metaphor of the thumb is me, this palm remain as such. And that inner side of the palm is the chitta that we call as mind skein. That's what I am always observing. What that chitta is displaying is called its vritti. Example I give is that cinema hall. You go to it before time, it is a white skin in its raw state. 2 minutes later, the cinema begins. Then that white is displaying to you something other than its raw state. Different from its raw state is the vritti. And nirodh is or cessation of that. If that is no more there, if there is no vritti, cinema skin will become its raw state. Imagine if I could bring my mind skin in that kind of raw state, absolutely void of vritti, I have succeeded in yoga. It is cessation of all modifications of my chit. I come back to the raw state. Then next statement is tada dastu avasthanam. Tada is then the observer, myself, my tiny consciousness, subdued all the vittis of my chit. My mind skin is now in its raw state. I am established in my true self. Observer is in his what is that's what I am. When I get to know my true self, it's called self-realization. We will discuss it slightly more, but right now I can say Swarup can be interpreted in a many different manner. Here we will interpret is I can see myself alone now because infinite consciousness is all pervading implicitly with him. I get to know only when my mind skin is blank. So, as such, I never get to know myself me alone. I'm always with him. I get to know the so called observer myself in the lap of that Ishwar. It is, I can never be separate from it, that entity. I can never be absolutely alone. Find that I am, and that is what is my Swarup in him at that instant when I have brought my mind skin blank. We don't want to go through the whole philosophy of yoga, but I try to explain it what I am talking about. Like I was saying, that thumb in the fist, thumb with the me, push, that individual soul, or what we have been calling as my tiny consciousness. I am watching that skin out of the palm, that is the chitta, blue in blue colors. Always observing it. So that is like kind of, we are always watching that inner TV inside. I get to learn the gain proficiency in learn how to switch off this TV. So that process is described in his book. What are the possible states of my chitta, my mind skin? Not in its raw state. All kinds of things are happening, like I am engaged in knowledge and action those 24 hours. Even in dreams, in sleep, so many things are displayed by my chitta. They are all covered. They are all this red color arrow. All modifications are happening. Described as there is no yoga. Because yoga is to subdue the fluctuations, modification on the skin. Those things are happening. These vittis are there. There is no yoga. So that is described in number 1.4 and in detail. What is a common man's condition? If I make some progress from my right to the left in this direction, red to yellow, I don't make such a quick jump to the yellow color. So that is stage one. Common practitioner of meditation or yoga or Upasana, you call it, achieves stage one. Stage one is called intuitive cognition. He did make this attempt. Things somehow appear on that screen. Somehow appeared. Used to be true knowledge. Prajna Samadhi, Ananda Smita. Station that you get an idea about some gross of matter. These are subtle objects of matter, subtle entities made of matter, ahankara, chitta, etc. We have discussed at length that this can never be by our sensory organs because these are more subtle than our sensory organs. This can be known only in sampajnat samadhi. So this is stage one. A practitioner over that absolutely because even in this functioning as an tool because this displayed chitta but not effort. It is happening, of course it is happening due to that Ishwar. So Ishwar is communicating to me chitta of knowledge. That is the meaning of this, and this is called as sampajnat samadhi. When I have all this, mind screen, the chit is void of even this. Are not there. Asampajnat, higher stage, called Vivek Khyati. Me, chit is so what do I know? I get to Vivek Khyati that I am different from my mind. From my mind. Otherwise, whatever my mind displaying, I thought he is absorbing. That this is me, mind, and I am different. Whatever happens here, me because nothing is happening here now. Completely disconnect from it. Called discriminatory knowledge, is self-realization. Here, within my mind, in the deeper part, ahankar, some seeds are lying. Called as, yes, I have come to a blank skin. Seeds are there. Will attach to all kinds of vittis. Something will grow on chitta again. Has to be practiced again and again. Leads to the burning of seeds. Then those seeds become, now they are no more capable of giving vittis. Nibij samadhi, seedless samadhi. Final objective. Stage one, stage two, stage three. Get to know myself. When I get to know myself, I feel good also. Just like we have discussed Sushupti, deep sleep, when I come out of that, I feel good. That was a good experience. Here, I always feel good. Nature, whose attribute is it that feel good? My own, I should have always been feeling good, is it not? If this is my inherent nature, then these two stages situation where I say, this is wonderful, very good. This is the climax of that we were talking. Climax of happiness, so to say. There is a objective state because whenever I go there, and the other practitioners, they also report the same thing. Deep sleep. Anybody reports is it not? There is no element of subjectivity. The same thing happens there. And then we ask ourselves, where is this feel good coming from? Because my own inherent attribute attribute, I then it can never be vanishing. With me always, then every moment I should feel good. But we know it, human attribute. That leads us to conclude not what is called Anandas, but of somebody else, and that somebody else is infinite. That's how the whole sets of arguments go, and that is the closest experience I can have. We have it, but it is distant mode. I have no idea. I get to know it after I am out of sleep. There, so I can never say I really I did not have awareness at that time. Achieve. So in very common terms, I am trying to tell you what is capable of delivering teachings and accordingly. So this is the experiential learning of my tiny consciousness and that of infinite consciousness. The closest possible. Patanjali's comprehensive prescription. His book is slightly unusual. He starts with his word Samadhi path in the first chapter, who are very superior mind people. Whose mind, Klesh is not there. But tentatively you can say ignorance. Of course, we are all ignorant in so many things. But this is an ignorance, the true nature of my mind, my soul. You know, all that my mind and soul combined like a fist entered into my then mother's body, etc. So that tiny thing which somehow got into my that tiny shell, if I have correct understanding about that, Klesh here. You have ignorance of the type, what is this yoga? Is first chapter. Before that, I have already shown you those two statements actually long story about yoga. What is it? Yoga is chittavitti niyodha. No problem. Summarizes the whole of his book. What is happening in mind skin, then you get to know yourself. Other statements are merely explanatory in nature. So those superior quality people have enough guidance, right? So you can make the progress, reach out to others. That's what his book is about. Kriya Yoga, full comprehensive understanding that mind soul combined, that tiny shell. Who have that particular ignorance, for them he devised, he called Kriya Yoga. This is the nature of, this is what we have discussed, evolutionary thing, Idea is, if we are not fully guarding our life, we are unguarded. Ignorance leads us to do wrong kind of bad actions. In particular, maximize my sensual pleasures of life. That I start kinds of objects, and for that I am willing to adopt unfair means. Impurities and unfair means are due to as impurities in mind. A good person is slightly ignorant, but he is not harming others. A small child, ignorant, anything bad, any wrong things. When you grow up and you want to live a materialistic life, your means are not, go out of your means to adopt unfair means, to hurt others. You have lie of things which is very common in the world, use the Ashuddha. So the one thing was ignorance in mind. Now there is impurities in mind. This class of people leave out no other person. In the entire human population, small fraction will be here, another fraction here, leftovers are here. Nobody is out of this third part, and it includes everybody. That's why I say it is a comprehensive prescription. Patanjali did not give me VUT. Having said all that, of the Patanjali Yoga and his scheme, Vedic unified theory can be verified, validated, done living in pure and calm manner. This is very important. Word of Ashuddhi. Otherwise, you don't get to these points of realization. It is impure. Vedic unified theory. Theories and other branch of sciences put a law in a certain manner. Scientists can do the experiments and can verify those laws that are working fine. That is the way the science works. And we want to present Vedic unified theory form of scientific evidence. So then it is very important for us to tell a scientist how should he do the experiment these things. In this experiment, the laboratory is me, the human being as a whole. My body and mind are my instruments. Other scientific instruments, the laboratory and its instruments, certain manuals, certain protocols be followed in a correct manner. If you really want to validate and verify of Patanjali Yoga, you must do experiments faithfully. And that requires your mind to be Shuddhi and Vikshepa. Very essential criteria. Because in one later session we will be discussing if good, transport it to the scientific community. What are the problems associated with it? Then this has to be noticed. And really test it and verify it. He has to be trained to this level. It is not this level if he just sits with eyes closed. I don't samadhi, I don't see. Then we will say followed prescription in letter and spirit. You have to do it. Is of three parameters: shape and hour. Impurities, fluctuations have to be diminished, knowing which unawareness. Patanjali's philosophy, then that hour is removed. Purify your mind and learn these practices and judge whether it is right or wrong. Otherwise, it is a premature thing. Saying, I have shown you this slide earlier. So again, as the evidence for infinite consciousness, arguments, but when we go to achieve this fourth state, Turiya Avastha, I am wakeful, I am awake, I am in deep sleep, finally, is a distant from that absolute happiness. In real awareness mode, everything is believing. This is the importance of Patanjali, meditation, Upasana, all these lies. So he said that in Samadhi, I have acquired aspect of an attribute, actually an attribute of Brahma. So I become like Upta. That I do in Sushupti, in deep sleep also, but I don't get the real time sense. Sense comes only in Samadhi. That is what is the conclusive evidence for that. But for that, we have to go through a rigorous path. Can you see the same slide? Upasana, meditation and Upasana, as I succeed in it, important thing because it leads to states of happiness, guidance for infinite consciousness. One will say, I am not interested in all those spiritual principles. Layman, we say, very good, everybody should do it. Leads to refinement in knowledge and action. Nobody can say, I am not concerned with this. As you practice in Upasana, understanding is improved and your quality of actions are better. Everybody should be interested in. So human life is like a climb uphill. The ultimate objective is to be at the summit. As much as you climb, you are making progress. You can see the view better. The hill, if you are at the foot of the hill, it is very narrow. As you climb up, your view is broad. And if you are at the summit, it is 360 degree, is it not? That intermediate point is missing. Just because you think you may not be able to reach the summit, it does not mean make any, you shouldn't climb at all. Not worth climbing. As you are at that level, even you are at that level, all kinds of worldly things are happening at the foot of the hill. Upasana will gradually lift you up. You have all that you have at the hill, plus you have something extra. That is why Upasana is very, very important. Because this is part of our course, we have to make certain remarks, belittle other things. Just evolved in last 5,000 years. So we have to show that those distorted ideas entirely on our Vedic unified theory. We want to preserve in its utmost sanctity and purity. So we should be very clear. Wrong ideas gone into it, very careful that we mistaken. Earlier days, alternative paths of yoga, such as this. Alternative path to yoga, Patanjali yoga, only way to succeed in Upasana. No doubt about that. Of course, we can say why Patanjali only has the authority to. We discussed at the very second session three bodies of literature: Vedic, Upanishadic, and the 6 books of Upasana. So Patanjali Yoga is not talking anything from what is covered in the Vedas and Upanishads. But having progressed, easy to discern. It is not easy to cull out from Vedas and Upanishads a very well formulated scheme of Upasana. That is Patanjali's contribution. He is not doing something of his own. statement is Atha Yoga Nushasanam, compiling the principles of yoga that has been old tradition. But now we are thousands and millions of years later, we know the word yoga properly. So we are far away from Patanjali's time. Patanjali's book, at least which we can catch hold of, will help us go and Vedas also. This is a good starting point. Make some progress on Upasana. What happened? Somebody thought with Patanjali Yoga, he said that there are other paths of Upasana, other paths of yoga. Sometimes like sounding terms, Karma Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, etc. He tried to say, I'm focused in my profession, my karma, and if I well, I achieve the benefit of yoga. Somebody says, if I acquire a lot of bookish knowledge, I will gain proficiency in yoga. This is irrelevant. Yoga has been described nothing but of all that happens in my mind. When I get to know myself, I am in the lap of that Ishwar. Knowledge is the real Jnana knowledge. Knowledge, somebody says, if you read a lot of books, you will have upasana. I accept. Somebody says, I just practice meditation and I am also able to what? Somebody says, I listen to devotional songs. I will also get to that same objective of upasana. This is not true. This is not true. What can happen is these components are relevant. Components are relevant, but finally we need Patanjali's the yoga. That is what is yoga darshan. And incidentally, all these elements. Like if you study Patanjali Yoga in detail, emphasizing abhyas and practice, that is in the direction of action, emphasizing vairagya, detachment, detachment. You succeed in detachment only you have correct knowledge and understanding that if I follow path, I will not be succeeding in yoga. Knowledge that I should not go in that direction. Detach myself from that. So that knowledge is covered in Vairagya. A lot of emphasis in meditation in Dhyan. Actually, this is a term of Patanjali's. So that is already covered. Of Ishwar Pranidhan, surrendering all your actions to Ishwar. Symbolic sound of Om and its jap. All that is included in Ishwar. So that is climax of bhakti. So climax of all these things are covered in Patanjali Yoga. So Patanjali Yoga is not unidimensional. Requires components, then only one gets that ultimate success. There is a wrong way to say each component itself can give you success. And then following this, then you have yogas. Everybody has yoga, they have all kinds. Man is totally, utterly confused. And we have a duty not to let this happen. This is the greatest misunderstanding. Hot yoga. Everything in the world today is hot yoga. Common man thinks this is yoga. That is a very terrible thing, and we have to practice. Hatha yoga is for therapeutic purpose. Physical exercises based on body or postures may and is probably good for physical health, but have absolutely nothing to do with exact yoga. There is so much of misunderstanding, long way to go. It's a very difficult journey. Nothing is well defined. Hatha yoga, why people there is so confusion? Reason of confusion is if I want to give them benefit of doubt, I know they didn't have good intentions when they started this practice. But even if I give them benefit of doubt, I use the term asana, which is Patanjali's term, and nobody has business to borrow this term in a different manner. In a different manner, that's why I began to get angry with these Hatha Yoga people. They use this term in a wrong manner. They define this term as sthir sukham, unwavering, a stable posture. Sukham is comfortable posture. Their business is and samadhi. First, you have to bundle your body in a proper manner, like we did today at the start of the session. Bundle your body in a framework in such a manner that next 15 minutes I am unwavering and I am without any kind of bodily discomfort in this posture. These two terms are important. Patanjali's every word, every term is super important. His style is very, very scientific. He says asana is defined as a posture, unwavering and comfortable for the purpose of meditation. If you look at what the Hatha Yoga people have done, you find hundreds of postures. You can write many more postures, physical asana. They use this term asana. Dhanurasana, for example, a bow posture. Bundle your body in the bow posture. My question is that posture there for sufficient time in an unwavering and comfortable manner so as to perform meditation? No. The answer is no. You have stolen this term asana in a different manner than what Patanjali did. That is wrong, is it not? What happened at the first place? These people have used the word yog, used the term asana, all this in a wrong manner. The common man is confusing. So that's the state of affair today. I want to make a statement here. I have said it. What is Vedic unified theory? I will focus on one aspect that this has nothing to do with religion. Because we have the non physical consciousness, we are another religion. It is a universal scientific thought process. So, one statement was infinite consciousness that Ishwar makes the universe out of matter for the benefit of any consciousness and governs the whole universe, the inanimate world, by the laws of nature. Thus, our tiny consciousness is governed by the so called. So that's the way he governs the whole universe. He is the final presiding entity, authority, and for his governance, he does not need assistance. He does not need guiding. He does it all this of his own. We always said when we used this slide earlier, this is part one. We have to stop it. Part two is very important for us, trying at least as human beings to get to that infinite consciousness in real time, in conscious mode, directly without any intermediary. This Upasana is doing, we are capable of. That's what makes us any religion. Even this will make us different from religion. But this is absolutely not covered in any religion. In any religion, God is always present as an intermediary, and there are many other parameters. They don't emphasize Upasana. Upasana is nothing but me and him, a direct relationship. And that is what is the evidence of myself as well as that. So that has to be borne in mind. It is exclusively part of Vedic unified theory. Scientists can get to it if they follow the prescription of Patanjali, which is their duty. If you do any experiment, you must follow the protocols of that manual in a correct manner. Otherwise, you cannot say that manual is wrong. You cannot say that unless you have disproved it. I'm new here, but I want to say about a term which I don't want to give up. And there is a hesitation on my part. So I again want to point out unified theory. I have used so many terms, Satya Sanatan Vedic Dharma, because that has the blueprint of this whole theory. Also called it a science of sciences, called it a scientific spirituality. But in today's world, this term spirituality is also being misused. I have seen many people saying, I am spiritual. What do you do? He just goes to a place of worship. He is a follower of one of the many religions. So these religion people are trying to hijack this term spirituality, which I want to say religious spirituality is defective because it does not follow this statement. This is only the true scientific spirituality. If you are deviating from it, you are not following spirituality. We don't want let them say that they are followers of spirituality. So to say, because in our concept, spirituality is scientific and universal. Just like any other science is universal, spiritual science is universal. This religious spirituality, so called, is again sectarian. Somebody's spirituality is something, another person's spirituality is some other religion. So called religious spirituality is a defective, is a pseudo spirituality. When we present Vedic unified theory to the general people, we have to understand these concepts, these terms, and how to use them. This I am using saying because there is a ray of hope. Some positive things are happening. There is a group of people nowadays who claim they are SBNR. That has come into vogue nowadays. There are young people who declare, what are they saying? I am spiritual but not religious. So they have the strength to say they are spiritual, and it is spirituality is not the copyright of religious people. They disown any religious ideas. They claim to be spiritual. So one day we want to make the whole world spiritual world, but divisive religious concept, religion. Upasana attains the ultimate human objective. Upasana is described in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Not that this is Bible for me. We are saying this is a scientific manual for the experimental part of Upasana concept. Make mind thoroughly inactive. That is a prerequisite, and that gives us taste of absolute happiness, and that implicitly proves of Ishwar infinite consciousness. Upasana gives several incidental benefits, and probably in one later session, of about 110 items. So we'll just go through it very fast. So the reason I am saying it is Interested in unified theory and all that, let it collapse, I don't care. A small segment of Upasana, it will help you, it will improve your quality of life, it will make you a better human being than what you are today. So this is useful for everybody, and that's what meditation is all about. Besides improving the quality of knowledge and action, this is the unique feature of the science of sciences and is missing in religions as well as in science. So that's what makes Vedic unified theory is a unique thing. Today, I brought a Vedic mantra today, which I bring every time, but when I am time, I don't show it to you. This is also interesting from Yajurveda, the 31st chapter, 18th. This is so-called Purush Sukta. Purush Sukta is in there in Rig Veda and also in Atharvaveda. With slight difference, I have taken this verse from the Yajurveda, 31st chapter. Om Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasah Payastat Tamev Viditvati Mityumeti Nanya Pantha Vidyate Ayanai. Very beautiful wording. Not a noun but verb. Ved, to know. Otherwise, we have seen the Ved means knowledge. But here it is to know. Aham is I know. Etam means this. Purush, we have seen that consciousness, but it is not me that Mahantam, that Purush, that infinite or that Ishwar. I know that Ishwar, that's what I am saying. Aditya Varnam, very shining, lustrous. Payasta, tamas is darkness, paya is always beyond. Who is beyond darkness forever? That's how we are both consciousness, but sometimes I am inflicted with ignorance, but he is never that ignorant. He is always beyond that. That's why he is Mahantam Purusham. I know him. I want to know him. How do I know him? Of course, when I cross over this darkness. That is where it is in my mind. If I go beyond my mind, absolute only light and light. And that light will bring me to that Tamev. Only Tamev Viditvati. If I know him, only then, only by knowing him, Mrityumeti, I will cross over death. First will die. After death, which is eventually going to happen, the question is, where will I go? Back to the world, I will die again. So that's the question here. After the death, which is going, if I know him, there will be a dark path and lighted path. If I go on the lighted path, cross over death, I will never die again. That is the meaning. If I know him, if I have used all this knowledge properly, the next death, which is eventually, which is definitely going to be there, will be the last one. I will cross over the death. Anya, there is no other path existing other than this. No other way. So getting to know him, we have seen and samadhi and also moksheshu. That was the Sankhya statement I used. Mentioned here. This is the only way. Upasana is very important for every human being. That brings us to the end of this session. We have not yet decided. The, we will have 2 or 3 more sessions probably. Stretch it too far. Otherwise, Vedic philosophy, we can bring many more components. But that was not my purpose. I wanted to share with you some basic elements of Vedic philosophy future Vedic unified theory. We'll meet again next week from this point. Thank you for joining me.